Hello everyone, this is a video to discuss some of the major importance of the muscular system and how muscles actually work, and it kind of talks about the different types of muscles and how they originate and insert on bones. So it's fair to start off by talking about the difference between the origin and the insertion of a muscle. So obviously muscles attach to bones. They attach to bones that move and bones that don't move. So the origin of a muscle is the site to which a muscle attaches to a bone that does not move. And an insertion is the muscle that attaches to the bone that moves. For example, if you take a muscle like the biceps, so if you take your biceps muscle, when the biceps muscle contracts, the bone that moves is the bone of the forearm. That would be the insertion, because that's the site where the muscle attaches to the bone that moves. And obviously the bone that does not move when a muscle contracts is the shoulder bone, and that would be the origin. So that's the biggest difference between the origin and the insertion. So a muscle attaches to a bone that moves and it does not move. So it's fair to understand the difference between the origin and the insertion. Also, the movement of a muscle, the prime movement of a muscle, it's called the agonist. The agonist is the prime mover of a muscle. So for example, the biceps flexes, so the biceps would be the agonist muscle. So while the muscle that flexes is the agonist, the muscle that is relaxed is called the antagonist. So the antagonist stretches and yields the actual prime mover. Okay? So that's one of the biggest things. Also, you have another term that's important to know is the synergist muscle. The synergist muscle would be the muscle that helps the agonist, that helps the prime mover. Okay, so for example, if you take a muscle like the brachioradialis muscle, is a synergist muscle to the biceps because it actually helps the prime mover or the agonist. Okay, now one of the things that's very, very important, I am going to name some of the major muscles that I want you to be familiar with. First is the orbicularis oculi, the muscle that's located around the eye. The epicranius, which is the muscle of the forehead. The orbicularis oris is the muscle that goes around the mouth. The masseter muscle is a major chewing muscle located right over here. Okay. The major head flexor, known as the sternocleidomastoid, is another muscle that's very important to identify. You also have the pectoralis major for the chest. You have the rectus abdominis for the abdomen. You also have the shoulder muscle called the deltoid. You have the muscles of the back. You have the trapezius that helps you shrug your shoulders. You have the latissimus dorsi, which is a muscle that's called the swimmer's muscle. So as you're swimming, that's the muscle that actually contracts. You have the gluteus maximus, that's the butt muscle. Okay, the longest muscle in the body, also known as the sartorius. You have the quadriceps muscle. It's called quadriceps because it's 4 muscles that make up the quadriceps group. Okay, it's the vastus lateralis, the vastus medialis, the vastus intermedius, and the rectus femoris. Those are 4 muscles that make up the quadriceps group. You also have the hamstrings located right behind the quads. It's made up of 3 muscles, the semitendinosus, the semimembranosus, and the biceps femoris. Other muscles that I want you to be familiar with is a muscle called the tibialis anterior, located on the side of the tibia. So these muscles, class, I'd like for you to all identify them using a muscle dummy or an image of a muscle. If you're able to identify these muscles, these are major muscles that you probably would work out in the gym. Thank you, and that concludes my video.